Hi everybody, and welcome to our final Twitch live stream of the summer, week number 8. Hard to believe our class ends in just a couple of short days and that it's almost August. Like, it feels like it went really quickly. But thank you for those of you who are here with me. Before I get going, just to make sure really quickly, can you all hear me and see me? Okay, maybe somebody give me like a thumbs up or a yes in the chat. That would be super helpful. Look, I'll show you my cat while you do that. Like, my cat Squash is hanging out with me. Right. She's at just enough of a distance that I can't touch her, but she's here, at least a little bit. So good. I'm glad you can hear and see me okay. I want to go over everything that we have going on this week. I did make a recording last week. The internet where I was at was just absolutely horrible, and I figured it would cut in and out the whole time. But I do want to go over kind of the final assignments and everything from week number 8. I'll give you one last opportunity for the extra credit. I'm going to remind you maybe like 12 times tonight. I'm going to put it here in the chat, but remember that our class officially ends on Friday night. I know it's normally been Sundays for deadlines, but it's Friday night, which is August 1st at 11:59 p.m. So just be really aware of that. I can't give any extensions this week because final grades are due within like 24 hours. So just please be really mindful of that. Make sure that everything is in by Friday night. And you can see that again here, and it's on the syllabus and everywhere as well. And I'll send out an announcement to remind you. But just to put that out there, everything ends Friday night at 11:59 p.m. So we're in week 7 and 8. I went over everything from week 7 last week in that recording and gave you that extra credit opportunity. So I'm going to focus on the stuff in week number 8. And you do have a couple of kind of normal things, and then you do have 2 closing sort of assignments or kind of concluding assignments that I want to make sure you're feeling good about. So you have 2 chapters to read like always, chapter 15 and 16, our last 2 topics. And as always, you want to do 3 things with those. Read it in the textbook, read through the lecture, and watch the lecture video. You also have 2 discussions, our final 2 discussions, one of them related to therapies and one related to social psychology. And then you do have our final exam number 4. And the final is not cumulative, it's just a 4th exam. So if you click on the study guide here, it'll show you all the key terms that you need to know. It's everything in this last 2 weeks. So all these things from chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16. So make sure, as always, if it's on here that you know it. If it's not on here, you don't need to worry about it. You can let it go. But as always, make sure you have 75 minutes. Make sure you have good internet. Try not to wait till the end of Friday to take it. It just always feels like something goes wrong the second that you do that. And please, again, remember that this will close Friday night at 11:59 p.m. So just be really mindful of that and be sure to do it early. And as always, if it were me, I would type these out and have it in front of me. But a lot of you have been doing just an absolutely beautiful job on the exams. So keep up the great work. This is the last one. And again, it's not cumulative. It's just on these 2 weeks of materials. So all of that is kind of normal stuff, right? The 2 chapters, 2 discussions, and an exam. Where we deviate a little bit is we do have 2 25-point assignments this week that have been open this week and last week, just as kind of a way to wrap up the class. So rather than giving you a cumulative test, I have a little closing assignment that you're going to be doing. And then you're also doing a self-care and mindfulness assignment related to that other book that you bought. And I know that's given a few people some fits this week a little bit, trying to find that. When you signed up for the class and purchased the Psyched textbook, you bought this bundle, this $110 bundle, and it came with both books. Now, one book was the Psyched book, and you've been using that all along. And that's where all the exams are and all of that stuff. The other book that you bought is a self-care and mindfulness book, and it's much shorter. It's not a textbook as much as it's just something that I wrote. And so with that, you should have received 2 separate emails, one for the Psyched book that you've obviously set up, and then one for the self-care book. And that was either from Red Shelf or Vital Source. So if you're having a hard time finding it, it is not the Psyched book that you've been using. It is a completely different book. I promise you that if you bought the Psyched book, you have that purchased as well. They're only sold together as a bundle. So those of you who are like, I haven't opened it or accessed it, Hopefully you can go back and find that email. Worst case, if you can't find that email, make sure that you do reach out to them as soon as possible. On the last page of the mandatory orientation lecture, there's a phone number and an email, and they should be able to help you locate that. But it was either like Red Shelf or Vital Source, and it's a completely separate book that you're using for this self-care and mindfulness assignment. And I hope this is something that is helpful to you. Like, it might not seem like it as you're doing it. I will share with you. So I wrote this book, and it took me several years to do. If you had told me years ago that I would write something about self-care and mindfulness, I would have like rolled my eyes at you and laughed. But it is something that's really, really important. And my hope with this book was to kind of share a little bit of that with you as part of this class, definitely related to psychology. So you're going to be reading through the book and answering 10 questions. And I have them listed here. They're not necessarily in order, though I tried to kind of follow the text. So you're going to be doing some topical things and then having an opportunity to kind of reflect and do some mindfulness and self-care as well. So you're going to complete a couple of inventories and worksheets. You're going to try out some mindfulness activities and answer these questions. And so you're going to upload all of that here. You can see right here at the top where it says start assignment. You can upload your paper. You can type this, you can handwrite this. It's kind of up to you. I think most people tend to type it, just as long as it's legible and clear. That's totally fine if you want to upload a handwritten document. But you're going to be writing all of this out and numbering your responses, and you'll be uploading it right here. And if you need to do images for the worksheets, that's totally fine. I've also given you a rubric, but my hope with this assignment was to kind of push you to try a little bit of self-care. And you did that in the discussion last week, discussion 13, and this is hopefully building on that just a little bit. So again, if you're having a hard time finding or accessing this, go back and look for that email when you purchased your books. I promise you that if you got the Psyched book, you did also get that one as well. They were sold together as a bundle. The other assignment that you have is a short closing assignment, and neither of these are overly long, but I do think that they're both really important. The closing assignment is going to have you kind of think back over everything that we've covered, and you're going to pick 5 topics and talk about how you could relate them to your life in some way. And one of them could be self-care, right? And you could kind of piggyback a little bit off of that assignment, or mindfulness. That's 2, technically. You could have 2. But with this one, what you have are the instructions, a list of all the major concepts we've covered, and then I gave you a sample. So let's look at the sample really quickly first together. What I want you to notice is it's not like a traditional paper. You're going to pick a term or concept that we covered and list it. You're then going to define it, which can be copied from the textbook. The main thing that I'm interested in here is your application. You're going to take about a paragraph and describe like how could you connect this to your life in some way. So we covered negative reinforcement. How could you use that in your life in some sort of practical way? My hope is that there's at least 5 things that you can relate to your life, and I'm kind of trying to get you to think about that as we wrap up. So this is the sample, and again, you're following that very specific format instead of like a traditional long paper. Here are the instructions right here where you're going to submit it, and it'll kind of go through everything for you. It's worth 25 points. 5 points for each of the 5 different things that you're talking about. So you're going to give me a term, a definition, and an application. You're going to number them 1 through 5. It should be roughly like 2 pages or so typed. I gave you a little rubric right here. Again, the whole point of this is just to have you think about 5 things from this class that hopefully you can take away, right? So let's say the unit on memory was really like powerful for you. You can pick a concept or term from that unit. Or again, like mindfulness or self-care, or maybe there was something related to therapy in this topic we're covering this week that was helpful. So those are the 2 things that are kind of a little bit beyond what we normally do as we wrap up the class. There's also, of course, the extra credit opportunity that I'll give you in a few minutes. I'll post the recording right here. And then I have a little anonymous closing survey. So I'm always trying to make this class better, obviously a little more informal over the summer. But if you have any feedback of things that you really liked or maybe wish were a little different or better, this would be a wonderful place to share that with me. And it's completely anonymous, so I won't have any idea who said what. But if you have any feedback, I would love for you to take a moment to share it with me. But again, this week you have the 2 chapters to read, the 2 discussions, your exam, like always, and then the 2 different things are the self-care and mindfulness assignment and the closing assignment. So I hope that all of those things feel pretty clear and that you're feeling good about them. Remember that this is a different book, right? So there's a chance you never opened this until now, but you can definitely go back and find that email from the publisher and hopefully you can access it pretty easily. As I mentioned, I do have a couple of reminders for you, and then I have an extra credit question, and I'll see if you have any questions for me. I typed this up, as always, if you could take one last opportunity to just make sure you're still subscribed, or if you're watching this later as a recording, again, you can still get extra credit if you're subscribed that way. The other reminder, and I put this in the chat already, but I'm going to do it one more time. Please remember that our class officially ends on Friday night at 11:59 p.m. Okay, so really, really important. If you email me Saturday, I will feel really bad for you, but it's going to be too late. So I'm really like strict on that late policy. And this is the one time I can't give you an extension just because final grades are due. So just please be really mindful of that. I would hate to see any of you like not get through the materials and forget that deadline. I will send out an announcement tomorrow just to remind you, but one more time, remember we end Friday night. And this is also a really good time to double check your grades. Take a quick moment and click on the grades tab and just make sure that everything looks right. Right? If you're missing a score or something isn't what you feel like it should be, reach out to me and let me know. Really, really easy to fix those things right now. It gets a little more complicated once I've submitted final grades. So if you could just take a quick moment, make sure everything is right. And if it isn't, let me know and we can, kind of sort that out together. The other thing, again, as I mentioned, is I will post this in a bit. Let me give you the extra credit question. So I put this here and I will put it in the chat. This is the last extra credit, the week number 8 Twitch extra credit question. And it's if someone has a phobia of heights, what are 2 different methods that could be used for treatment and describe? Okay, so if someone had a phobia of heights, what are 2 different ways that we could treat that phobia and kind of describe and tell me what that would look like? You can use that from the information in the book. It's also kind of a little bit linked to the discussion, so that might help you a little bit there. But when you're ready, you'll click right here on optional Twitch extra credit number 8. And then up at the top, click on Start Assignment. And it brings up that box where you can type your response, and then when you're ready, go ahead and hit submit, get your confetti burst and stars, right? Your last extra credit confetti burst. I love that so many of you have done this. I think it's a really great opportunity to get a few extra points. And thank you for those of you who've joined me consistently throughout our time, or even those of you who've watched it later. Like I know that our schedules are kind of all over the place. So thank you so much for that. Are there any questions about anything at all? Is there anything that you're confused about or I can answer? I will hang out for a little while. If you do have anything, feel free to put it in the chat. If you, again, are confused or need some clarification, let me know and I'd be happy to go over it again. Otherwise, thank you all for a wonderful short summer class. I hope I see some of you in maybe a class in the fall or the spring. Enjoy the last days of summer. I cannot believe that August is in like a day or two. So crazy to think it went so fast. But thank you all so much for a wonderful short class. I'm going to hang out for a little bit. If you do have any questions, I'm here. Otherwise, you're welcome to go work on all that stuff. And again, one last time, don't forget that everything is due by Friday night, right? The class ends Friday night at 11:59 p.m. So thank you all again. I'm going to minimize my video. The extra credit was sent in the announcement. So if you go back, I can show you really quickly. If you go back to the announcement that I sent out when I canceled it, so it should be right here, Twitch session today canceled. If you click on that, you can see the extra credit question is right here. What does DSM stand for, and what edition are we in? Right. So this is where you don't answer it here. It looks like somebody did that, but you'll answer it under week number 7 like you would normally. But that's where you can find it. So I didn't make a recording. I just posted this here. It was kind of a typical week, so hopefully it was hoping you kind of knew what to do. But this is the extra credit question. It was posted there under the announcement. So I hope that helps so you have it and can go back and answer that. It's still within those 2 weeks, so you can still get those points. Yeah, of course, no worries. All right, I'm going to minimize this just so I'm not staring at myself. But I will hang out, like I said, for a few minutes. If you do have any questions for me, feel free to put them in the chat, and I would be happy to answer them. Thank you all again for joining me and for a wonderful short class. And I am still here, as I mentioned, if any of you do have any questions or anything that you need like clarification on, I'm more than happy to help with that. Oh, thank you so much. It's really kind of you to say. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. And if any of you are planning on taking more psych classes, I do teach a couple other ones in person and then research methods online as well. So feel free to join me again. If you're not sick of me, if you haven't had enough yet, you're welcome to join me again. And I'll hang out for another couple of minutes or so, and then I'll probably sign off so I can upload this for anyone who wasn't able to make it live. But again, thank you so much for those of you who joined me today and consistently throughout our time. And I hope you all have a wonderful last week before we start the fall semester.